everybody. Firstly, sorry about the time difference. That was completely my mistake. I am not very good at maths, clearly, but it was British summertime. There was a confusing factor. So we are so happy to welcome the incredible Siri Lindley. And incredible is not a word that is understated in this case. So Siri is someone I've never met. I've admired from afar for ever since I first got into triathlon. Siri's a world champion triathlete. She's a high performance coach, and she's the author of a book, Surfacing from the Depths of Self-Doubt to Winning Big and Living Fearlessly. She was triathlon world champion in 2001. She was world #1 ranked athlete 2001, 2002, and she retired at #1 in the world in 2003. And she's now, and I love this word, the winningest female coach in triathlon, having coached athletes to 9 world championship crowns, 2 Olympic medals, multiple national championships, and world #1 titles. She's also the co-founder of Believe Ranch and Rescue, which is a non-profit horse rescue. And she's a motivational speaker and life coach, and she's helped countless athletes and non-athletes alike conquer self-doubt and develop the mindset of a champion over the years. She's a pretty awesome person. I mean, that's an amazing biography. On December the 5th last year, Siri started an Instagram post with these words, and I hope you don't mind, Siri, but I'm going to read out what you said.
Please.
I was just diagnosed last week with acute myeloid leukemia. I don't want you to feel sad for me. I don't want you to pity me, because I truly believe God only gives us what he knows we can handle. And also, we're given things that will truly take us to a whole new level spiritually. I am going to make it through this. I'm going to make this my most beautiful victory. I'm going to find a way to use this word, leukemia, cancer, and have it be a word that doesn't make people weaken, but helps people strengthen through the challenge. So that was December the 5th last year. And since that day, Siri's had several weeks on a clinical trial. She's had high-dose chemotherapy and radiotherapy. She's then had a bone marrow transplant. She's chronicled her treatment and her recovery openly through social media, and she's now cancer-free. Wow. So you're an absolute legend in the triathlon world and outside the triathlon world, and we are so honoured to have you join us today. So thank you.
Oh, Lucy, thank you so much for having me. I mean, I think you're incredible and have been admiring you from afar as not only an incredible athlete, but an incredible human being. I love what you're doing here, and it truly is just a great joy and a great honor to be here to share my story with all of you. And wow, when you read that through, I remember writing that, and that's powerful. I haven't seen it since that day. So thank you for sharing that with me, because it's a reminder of how this all began.
So just going back a year, September last year, I imagine you were getting ready for Kona for the Ironman World Championships. Just put us in the picture. Tell us about Siri a year ago.
Oh, wow. I was just doing everything that I loved in my life. I was getting ready for the Ironman World Championships. I had Mirinda Carfrae racing. She was my only athlete racing that year. And my wife was with me. I was loving coaching my athletes and getting great results with all of them, making incredible progress. They were inspiring me every day. I was riding my horse all the time, running our Believe Ranch and Rescue, and just grateful for every single moment of my life. And overall, I felt really healthy and strong. I had a bad hip that came from, training way harder than probably my body was ready for when I was involved in triathlon. And that was really the only thing that was kind of holding me back in life. But speaking around the world for Tony Robbins, and speaking around the country for my speaking company, and sharing my story, and feeling like I was truly making a difference in the world, life was amazing. And I was super happy and a little bit tired, I guess, but I attributed that to just taking on a lot. I was doing a lot in my life, and I was super busy and really energetic. And so I was really, really tired. And basically it was a hip that saved my life. I don't know if you want me to go into that,
I
Lucy.
I'd really like you to. Yeah, thanks.
Well, so finally, okay, it's kind of a funny story. It was, my hip was, I could still run, I could still bike, but I was going very, very slowly, but that didn't really bother me. But when I speak for Tony Robbins, I have this hilarious, well, I am not a dancer, okay, but I run out on stage and I do this crazy dance and I feel so alive and it frees me and it relaxes me. Not a great dancer, but I do it. And this hip was preventing me from really being able to do my little dance that I do that people actually love. I don't know why, because I look ridiculous, but they love it. And so I had a month window where I could go in and get a hip replacement and be back in time for the next event. So I went in for my pre-op and they did the blood work, and I was there for like 2 hours and I couldn't understand why it was taking so long. And my doctor came out and said, "We're not going to be able to do this surgery. There's something really wrong with these blood results and we need to look into them further." And within a matter of a couple of days, it's when I got the phone call, and it was just completely unexpected. I had my doctor on speakerphone, and my wife Beck was standing next to me, and my doctor said, "You've got acute myeloid leukemia, and there's a genetic mutation that's going to make it really difficult to treat." And I heard those words, and my world just turned upside down. Like, I was devastated and terrified and paralyzed all in the same moment. And I looked over at my wife, and she just had tears like flooding out of her eyes. And I looked in her eyes, and it's like all of this was happening in a split second. I'd never felt such love for anyone in my entire life, and I felt her love back for me. And I was just soaking up this love. And then in that moment, I made a decision. And it's the most powerful decision I've ever made in my life. I said, "This is not my time to go. I have too much life to live, too much love to give, too much work to do in this world. I am going to survive and I am going to thrive." And I made that decision in my heart. I declared it to my wife, I declared it to my doctor. And there's something, Lucy, that is just so incredibly powerful about making a decision and declaring it, but making that decision right then and there that no matter what, you are going to make it through. And it didn't make the moment any easier, but what it did is it kind of set me in motion on this path of not dwelling on why me, why is this happening, oh my God, am I going to die, but like, okay, this is happening and I'm going to survive, period. And it laid the groundwork for the mental work I would do through this whole journey, which we can talk about later. Sorry, that was a very long-winded answer to your "what were you doing a year ago?"
No,
Sorry.
it sets the scene perfectly, because you were this, extremely busy, extremely fit, extremely dynamic, extremely famous person living this incredible life with a sore hip, who was suddenly told that you had a life-threatening cancer. And just to put in context, can you just briefly describe the treatment that you've had? So, because a lot of so there are two things I'd like to talk about mainly, and the first you've started on is mindset, and you've spoken a lot, way before cancer, about the power of self-belief, and that's something that I'm very passionate about in sport, in any aspect of life. And I'd love to delve a little bit into how perhaps the lessons you've learned from sport have helped you, and you touched on that a little bit. And then secondly, talk a little bit about how you come back from what was rock bottom. So just to put in context what that rock bottom was, can you just tell us a little bit about the treatment that you've had?
Yeah, I think one thing to mention as well is that when you get a diagnosis, I have some wonderful people in my life, and people that I love and respect, and they all had ideas on what I should do to
Yeah.
treat this. And it was wonderful to have their love and support, but it like gives me goosebumps right now because I remember feeling so overwhelmed about this person says I have to do this, but this person says I have to do that. And it comes down so importantly to what is your heart telling you is right? What is your gut telling you is the right path for you? And that was really difficult to
Mhm.
work my way through all of that. But I found my way back to my heart. And I'm so blessed to have realized that two of the most incredible doctors that deal with leukemia are based in Denver. And one of them had just created this clinical trial. It was brand new. I was going to be, I shouldn't have known this, but I found out that I was number 7 on this trial. And everyone was kind of afraid, like, oh, it's a clinical trial. Like, that's such a risk. But I just knew in my heart that that was the right thing. And so again, I had to tell people, and they're like, are you sure you want to do this? You should go do this and go do that. And I said, no, I'm going to trust in my heart.
Yeah.
And and it also was so important to have everyone close to me, like my mom and my wife, to believe in it as much as I did. So I did this clinical trial. It was with azacitidine and venetoclax, this mix. And what it was meant to do was put me into remission after either a month of doing this was the hope that I could go right into a bone marrow transplant, but it took me 2 months of this clinical trial. Soon as I went into remission, I went immediately into the hospital. They did 1 week where I have the most incredible doctor in the world, but he scared me with this. He said, we are going to drop the biggest bomb that we
Mhm.
possibly can on you without killing you, because you have to have your body basically just ready to receive a whole new immune system. So I went into the hospital for a week to have this bomb dropped on me, which those of you that have been through it know that that's exactly what it feels like. And as soon as my numbers were down to like nothing, we went into the bone marrow transplant. And I fortunately had two incredible donors. I had my sister, who was a perfect match, um, and an umbilical cord that had been donated. And the goal was that my sister's uh, cells would teach the umbilical cord how to run your immune system, and then the umbilical cord would kill off my sister's cell, and I have this brand new immune system now. So I'm only 7 months old, and really, like, I mean, I really am. And so I was in the hospital for about a month and a week, until actually I was there for 3 weeks, and I was doing great, and they let me out. And then I had to be brought in about a day later with a super high fever, went through pneumonia, went through a little bit of graft versus host disease, and all the things that kind of you have to get through. But um, I lost about 20 pounds. I was down to nothing. I just couldn't eat. I just had no appetite. But there were moments, and this is going to kind of bring us into mindset. Through this whole process, I believe that being the master of my mindset is what truly has led me to being cancer free and healthy, and getting stronger every day today. But in those moments, like, I always would try to catch myself. If I was in a moment where I was feeling sad and afraid and scared and depressed, I knew that that was not going to help me heal. So I would recognize that emotion, let myself feel that emotion for a moment, acknowledge it, but then I would bridge over to a more powerful emotion, which was gratitude. For example, I'd be in my hospital bed, just a shadow of my former self, feeling so sick, so weak, so afraid. But I'd catch myself, and I would look over at the couch where my amazing mom slept every single night for over a month, and I'd feel so grateful. And I'd think about my wife, who had not left my side, and I would feel so grateful. I'd think about my amazing doctors and the nurses and the care I was getting, and I'd feel so grateful. And just moving from that darkness to gratitude gave me an energy and a hope and a belief that brought me back to a place of strength rather than a place of weakness. Another tool that I did that I recommend is I had made vision boards, and I had vision boards. I have all of them right here. They covered every inch of my hospital room. And it reminded me of the life that was waiting for me when I got healthy. So that was like this is what I'm working for. This is why I need to push through. This is why I'm going to heal. And then I don't know if you can see Lucy the
Yeah, you
picture,
can see.
winning the world championships in 2001. Well, that was an impossible dream coming true, because when I started triathlon, I was horrible. I didn't know how to swim. I embarrassed myself. I was dead last in my first race, but I wanted to be the best in the world, and I was willing to do whatever it took to make that dream come true. And I had this up on my hospital wall, and that I would look at that and I would remember that what seems impossible is really possible. And I would also remember who I am. That was me. I did that. And we all have proof. Like, we all have proof of times when we overcame something that we never thought we'd get through, or times that we were so afraid, but we found a way, times that we achieved something that we never thought that we could. We all have proof. And in times like that, when you're weak and you're struggling, that's when you have to tap in and access all your proof to remind yourself of who you are and what you're capable of. And so that's how I would turn myself around. And then in getting out of the hospital, like in every moment, I wanted to focus on what I had, not on what I didn't have. When I was weak and I couldn't eat, I'd focus on the fact that I'm surrounded by love, and I'm home, and I have my horses, and I'm looking out the window at this beautiful world that we live in. Or if I was in a moment of fear or not feeling well, I would just change the channel, change the channel to either gratitude or belief, or knowing that, hey, I'm stronger than I was yesterday. I'm a little less sick than I was yesterday, and focus on the good, not the bad. But that took literally, it's building a muscle. It's building a muscle of managing your mindset so that it serves you and strengthens you rather than weakens you. And that's just deciding what thoughts you're going to allow yourself to think.
Because what you say is incredibly powerful, and it sounds great, and it sounds so simple, but I'm sure I know it's not simple to
No.
get yourself out of those depths of despair. um do you, before you went into, so when you were told you had acute myeloid leukemia, did you sit down and think, how am I? Because I again, I've got off your Instagram when you told, so on day 2 of your chemo, I think this was your high dose, the bomb that they were giving you, and you were very emotional. It was very hard for everyone to watch. Most people wouldn't have shared it. And you were crying. Beck was there, and you said, "I stick by what I said. I am going to control my mindset and believe that there is another way of getting through this."
Yes.
Did you make that plan kind of in that time when you were working out your treatment strategy? And how did you, when it was tough, and there must have, I mean, that day was clearly a really tough day. How did you shift yourself out of that and get into the gratitude, the love mindset?
Well, I made, that first decision I made on the day of my diagnosis, that I am going to survive. So then it comes down to, okay, well, what things do I need to do to ensure that I do survive and that I do thrive? And I knew that part of that was the treatment. That, I mean, a massive part of it was my doctors and the treatment, and the support I was getting from my wife and my mom. But a massive part was going to be my responsibility. And when it comes down to, this is life or death. And I knew that when I allowed myself to fall into darkness, I just felt sicker and weaker and less hopeful. And I knew that that was not going to lead me to the result that I was working towards, which was survival and thriving. So it was me having to dig deep in every moment, like you would as an athlete in a race, and turning it around and saying, I'm going to do what is going to serve me right now. And it would take, like I said, it was a constant discipline all day, every day, changing my thoughts. And like, say I would go into thinking about why is this happening, I immediately changed the meaning of what was happening to take me out of this victim, like, oh, why me, into, okay, this is happening because I am going to receive gifts through this process that are not only going to make me a better human being or better able to love and to give and to have an impact on this world. So something beautiful is coming out of this. And there were a number of gifts that came out of this. It brought my family together. I didn't really have a dad before. I didn't have a relationship with my sister. Suddenly my sister is my donor and my dad's calling me every day, and my marriage is stronger than ever before, and my relationship with my mom is deeper than ever before. But I would say that the biggest gift, and again, like, yes, it sounds crazy, but look for the gift in what's happening to you. No matter how deep you're struggling, there is a gift there. And if you train your brain to find the gift, it's only going to help you heal. And the gift I found was that my whole life, I have been such a giver. I just love giving. I love giving, giving, giving. But I really used to have a horrible, terrible time receiving.
Mhm.
And in order to give as much as we all dream of giving, we have to learn how to receive. So it becomes this powerful cycle of receiving and getting even more energy, and then being able to give out even more energy. And so one of the most beautiful gifts, because cancer doesn't give you a choice. You know, cancer brings you to your knees. And there was a time where I had to receive. I had to receive the care and the support, and, you know, literally receive everything at certain times, and also receive my own love and my own belief in myself, because you've got to believe in you. You have to believe that you have everything you need inside of you to conquer this and to triumph. You have to believe that. And you also have to love yourself through those times when maybe you're not dealing with it the best that you could. And I had those moments. And I needed to love myself through those times where I did get super sad, or I did get really scared, or I did feel, you know, sorry for myself. I needed to love myself through those moments and be like, it's okay. This is a big deal, but we're going to turn it around, and we're going to start focusing on getting better. And things like you asked about, you know, how I got my body moving again. I never stopped moving through this entire thing. And it was just a matter of going from being able to walk maybe an hour when I was on the clinical trial to being in the hospital and getting up and walking for 10 minutes is maybe all I could do. But I never stopped moving. And that was me basically saying, this isn't going to get me. This isn't going to stop me. And even if that meant walking to the bathroom and back, you know, 10 times, like, I took that as, I'm showing you I'm up on my feet and you're not going to stop me.
Yeah.
I just went in a number of different directions there, but the mindset, we are in control of our thoughts. And it's a
That's
matter of acknowledging, are these thoughts serving me in this moment, or are they going to limit what I'm capable of doing right now? And because I had made that decision on day one, I was going to keep myself accountable, and in every moment try to redirect my thoughts or change the channel, if you want to put it that way, to thoughts that would serve me and strengthen me rather than the ones that were bringing me down.
I know that there's so much powerful stuff in what you've just said. I've heard you talk before about the power of vulnerability, and I guess you were touching on that a little bit, and that's something that cancer brings to most people at some point. Many of whom, like you said, are not used to being vulnerable and are not used to accepting help. And it's amazing that you see that as a gift. I guess that's something that a lot of people would struggle to understand unless they've been through something similar. And the other thing that a lot of patients say to me is control, and cancer takes away control. And 5K Your Way, Move Against Cancer, Move charity is all about the power of physical activity, and there's quite a lot of evidence that being active and moving is beneficial psychologically, but also in terms of response to treatments and outcomes. And that's something that can give people a little bit of a sense of control, because it's something they can do when all the control's been taken away from them. But actually what you describe is your mindset, and your mindset, you can control your mindset. And it feels like it's something that we should be exploring more with our patients and talking about it more, because from what you've just said, it was one of the biggest things that you could control during everything.
Absolutely. I mean, 1,000,000%. I think mindset was a huge part of why I'm here today. And also, I mean, there are other ways to find that control. You know, I had a routine that I did every single day. Um, it took different forms, you know, as I was a bit weaker, it became shorter, but I had things I would do every single day that made me feel like I was leaving no stone unturned in getting healthy. And those things where I would meditate every single morning. I have these electrical charging plates to maintain the electrical voltage in my body, which apparently leads to healing. I did my grounding. I had a grounding mat that I slept on, a grounding sheet in the hospital. Um, I would read, actually, I wouldn't read. I didn't have the energy to read, but I would listen to books in my ear. Um, I would pray. So I had a routine. I would get out and walk, whether it was for a minute or an hour. I would get out and I would move. And I did this priming exercise every day. And I think this is super, super powerful. I did it every single day. And basically it's some breathing exercises. And then you go into your heart and you think about three things that you're so grateful for, but you step into them like one at a time, like a memory you have, and be there and feel it and experience it all over again and feel that gratitude. So you step into three things. Then you go into sending healing energy to your body and all the places where you want the healing energy to go. And then you ask for strengthening, and then you send that healing out to those that you love and care about, or the world, or whatever. And then well, these are all very powerful things, but I believe one of the most powerful parts is in the end, you visualize three things that you want to achieve or accomplish in your life. And for me, obviously, it was being healthy. And you're meant to step into each thing fully and experience it and see it happening and see yourself succeeding. So I would like visualize myself running up my favorite mountain and feeling that incredible feeling of being at the top and looking at the gorgeous view and feeling healthy and strong and vibrant. And I would see myself in that healthy, strong state every single day. And what that does is it connects you to what you're working towards. It connects you and you're manifesting that coming back to you. And I did this every single day. Sometimes I'd spend 15 minutes on it. Sometimes I'd do like 5 minutes because I get tired. But I think seeing yourself healthy, strong, vibrant, doing what you love is so incredibly powerful, because you are manifesting you reaching that place again. And this is all mindset stuff too, but having this routine, and this was something I had control over. I chose to do these things every single day, and it gave me a certainty. It gave me a certainty that I was doing everything in my power to heal. Um, and I should mention one other piece to this, and this is maybe a little foo-foo for some of you, but I feel clearing up unresolved issues, like in your soul or in your spirit, is so important. Like, I felt like I almost wanted to sweep out my soul and think about anyone that had hurt me or caused me pain. I wanted to forgive them. I wanted to forgive myself for things that I was, feeling bad about, that maybe I'd done in my life or I failed to do in my life, and forgive myself. And in that act of forgiveness, I felt like I was clearing the way for the healing to come through me. Um, Again, that's a little foo-foo, but that was very important to me, to kind of resolve issues that were maybe held a little toxicity in my body, and release those to clear the way for healing.
And I know as an athlete, you use visualization quite a lot, and I've heard the story of you visualizing every day up to the Olympics, but you didn't visualize things going wrong, and you got dunked in the swim, and that wasn't in your visualization, and then everything fell to pieces. Is that a fair, very short summary of what happened?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I learned from that, the lesson was to visualize maybe coming up against a challenge, but how you deal with it gracefully and with confidence and with strength, and you overcome it. And that's super powerful too, so that you're prepared. You're not just expecting perfection, but you're expecting to come up against challenges, but having everything you need to overcome them.
Do you think your time as an athlete, the lessons you've learned through sport and through coaching the best in the world, do you think that's helped? Has that prepared you for the cancer?
1,000,000%. Absolutely. And in the same note too, I think that there's so many things that can help. If there are athletes on here listening that aren't necessarily going through cancer or have been through cancer, I mean, think about and I'll tell you a story of the day I won the world championships. I came out of the water and near dead last.
Mm.
And up until that point in time, the story that I had about having a bad swim was like, bad swim, race is over. But on this day, I'm like, wait a second, my race isn't over. Like, what if this is? And I changed the meaning to, what if this is an incredible opportunity? I trained harder than I ever had. What if this was the best opportunity to just put my head down and go harder than I've ever gone before and see how close I get to the front? So just in changing my focus and changing the meaning of that bad swim, I suddenly had all this adrenaline. I got on the bike. I rode harder than ever before. I caught the fourth pack, the third pack, the second pack, and suddenly I'm at the front of the race. And I ran my way to victory. But had I given up, had I assumed that that bad swim, yeah, meant that everything was over, I wouldn't have even given myself a chance to become a world champion. Um, so I don't know how I just got on that, but it's so very important. Oh, for athletes, because in the moment you can be feeling like crap. Now, if you put all the focus into feeling like crap, you're just going to feel worse and worse and worse. But if you instead change your focus to, okay, what is good right now? Well, I've got the most amazing bike that I'm riding. I'm really in not a bad position. It's great weather. Okay, I'm going to focus on what I can do, not on what I can't do. And suddenly you start getting energy that's going to help you improve and end up having a great race. Like, we can't define one bad moment and make it a whole bad day. You can have that bad moment, overcome it, and make it a great day. And that's so incredibly important to understand.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a massive fan of psychology, and I think it helped me as an athlete. It helps me as an oncologist. It's helped me through COVID. It's helped me in even things like this. It can be turning challenges into opportunities. It's so powerful, but it's really hard to do, and it's not it's easy to say, but actually putting that in process can be really challenging. Um, Something that I've discovered about myself is how much sport helps me. It puts me out of my comfort zone. I think this is something that you've spoken about as well, and being out of your comfort zone is something that makes me feel alive. I need it. I need to be scared every now and then. And I think I've heard you say similar. Um, Cancer presumably puts you way out of your comfort zone, but you have no say in that. Whereas every other time you've chosen to be out of your comfort zone. So how did you deal with that? Being thrown somewhere so far from where you wanted to be, so far from where you expected to be, with zero say in it.
I drew upon every experience where not only I chose to be afraid but do something anyway, but I drew on every experience, like when I joined Brett Sutton as my coach, and I moved to Switzerland, and I was training with these world champions and Olympic medalists, and they were just destroying me every day. And the training that Brett would give me, it was terrifying, and it seemed impossible. But I just would just do the best that I could with what I had on the day. Like, that became my thing. Like, this is terrifying. I don't even know if I'm going to survive this day, but I'm just going to do the best that I can with what I have. And what was so brilliant about how he was training me was that every single day he was giving me something that seemed so impossible. But every single day I just did the best that I could with what I had. And I proved to myself that what seemed impossible was really possible.
Mm.
So, because really, when you think about it, how can we ever know what we're truly capable of if we're not trying to do what we don't think we can every single day?
Yeah.
You have to get out of your comfort zone if you want to discover what you're capable of. So all the times that I chose to do that, that's what I drew upon when I came up with this. And obviously, I'd never seen a challenge as big as this one, but I knew that I'd faced challenge before. I knew that I had many times over and over been so incredibly afraid, but I did it anyway, and I had the courage. I knew I had the courage, and I knew I just had to use those same tools that I used back in training and apply it to this, and hopefully build strength along the way.
And so you're a coach to the best in the world. Many a time, as an athlete, I wished you didn't exist, because I might have had a better chance of racing against them. But you're, despite not racing anymore, you were, a year ago, you were still super fit. Um, then you had your treatment, and I've seen the videos, and you've told us you could hardly walk to the bathroom. Talk us through how you've used your coaching skills. Have you used your coaching skills to build? I mean, you look incredible now, and I've seen you about running, and talk us through how you're building the new Siri version 2.
Okay, first of all, I want to say you have beaten my athletes many a time, so you're incredible, Lucy. But thank you for the compliment. But you always gave us a huge run for our money. You're such an incredible athlete with such passion,
Oh,
and
thank you.
you're amazing. So I honor you. Um, yes, I've really had to coach myself um, in two different ways. First off, I personally needed to be okay with starting from ground zero and understanding that, like, I'm truly starting from ground zero and I need to take baby steps, because yes, I want to get stronger and I want to get healthier, but I need to be kind to my body. This is a new body, and I need to be smart. So being okay with baby steps, going from, walking on the hospital treadmill, for 45 minutes and covering half a mile in the beginning, and being proud of that, being so proud that I got on the treadmill and I was walking, or being proud of walking 10 loops around, the section of hospital where I was.
How did
And
you to accept that that was something you could be proud of? How did you get to that stage?
so here's my little tool that I use. I think about if I had a little baby Siri next to me, and baby Siri is going through what I've been through, and she walked, one loop around this hospital ward, which is maybe, 50 meters. Would I stand there and say, "What's wrong with you? You're only going to walk 50 meters"? Or would I be like, "Oh my God, you just walked 50 meters after what you've been through? That's amazing. Oh my God, I'm so proud of you." So I think about, how would I speak to my most beloved, or how would you speak to a younger version of yourself, someone that you love with all your heart? How would you speak to them? What would you think about that accomplishment? I would just be so incredibly proud that she had the strength to get up and walk around the hospital ward. I'd be so proud that I would celebrate that. And that's what you have to do, because we're so hard on ourselves, especially because we've been at the highest levels. But it's not about that. It's, where have you been? What have you been through now? So I kept thinking of it that way. And I wasn't perfect all the time in doing this, but that's where my coaching came in on the other side of things, where I would do too much. And I'd have to say to myself, Siri, this is too much. Your body's just not ready for this right now. You're going to actually hurt yourself rather than help yourself. And again, that was stepping outside of my own body and thinking, okay, if this was my athlete and they were 3 months post bone marrow transplant, would I have them doing this? And if the answer was no, then that would remind me that, okay, it's not about the fact that I used to be a world champion, none of that. It's like, where am I now? But most importantly, being my own biggest supporter and recognizing and acknowledging and celebrating every small step. The first time I ever ran 1 minute, Beck, my wife, was beside me, and I stopped and I threw my arms in the air and I was like praising God and just feeling so proud, because it's remembering what you've been through, what your body has been through, and celebrating every single baby step that you take. And you may take a few steps forward and then have to take a couple steps back. And that's okay, because if you remember back, if you are an athlete and you remember back to when you first started training, that's how it works. You take a few steps forward and then sometimes you have to take a step back. Life is not a straight line. It's going to give you curveballs and it's going to give you all different kinds of things, but celebrate each small victory. And yeah, so that's the tool. I hope that helps. But really treat yourself, love yourself, support yourself like you would your most beloved. That is the key. Celebrate yourself like you would your most beloved. And that's been so important for me, because I feel like I truly have embraced every small step I've taken. I'm now up to, I jog 4 miles at 12-minute mile pace, which is like so slow, but I am alive. I am alive. And I get to run, and running is my favorite thing in the world. I don't care how slow I go. I am alive, and that is victory. And that is something to be proud of, and that is something to celebrate.
I have a feeling it won't be that long before you're back doing doing 7-minute miles and
I don't know. We'll see, but it's okay either way.
Did you get any advice from your doctors, or were you told to exercise or not to exercise during and after your treatment, or?
They wanted me to, if I had the energy, they wanted me to get up and walk around. And when COVID hit, I mean, that we couldn't go to the gym in the hospital anymore, so that was walking around the wards. But my bone marrow transplant doctor, Dr. Gutman, he's so incredible. Dr. Pollier was my clinical trial doctor. He's incredible. But Dr. Gutman would say, it's about how you feel. Like I would say, but my bloods are kind of low today. Should I still go for a walk? And he said, do you feel like going for a walk? And I said, yes, I do. He said, go for a walk. It's more about how you feel than what
Did
the
it make you
numbers
feel
say.
better when you went
It,
for a
absolutely, always, because it's a part of who I am. And movement lifts your state. And so I knew in moments where I was really low energy and feeling sorry for myself or really struggling, I knew that if I moved, I was going to feel better. Always, every single time I moved, I felt better. And I would just say to myself, let's just go out for 1 minute. Let me just walk for 1 minute. And then I'd start walking and I'd feel better already, that I'd go for 5, or I'd go for 10, or I'd go for 15. So it's just take that first step and trust that that first step is going to feel, it's just going to give you more energy, and go with that. But do it for you, because I truly believe that movement and exercise through this and listening to your body has helped me so much, because it made me feel alive. It made me feel strong, that I was getting up and doing something. And that, even that feeling of feeling strong and feeling alive, that gave me the energy to heal. So
Mm.
it's so incredibly important.
It is, and there's good evidence as well that the sad that there's good evidence that it has that effect. The sad thing is that at the moment, I don't know, particularly in the UK, and I'm sure in other countries, we're not telling people that, and we're not, by not telling them, by not giving them permission, because I think a lot of the time people, perhaps loved ones of people undergoing cancer treatment, just want to wrap their loved one in cotton wool and stop it. And actually giving people permission to move and be active and get outside is so important. But obviously COVID's added so many more obstacles into the, the cancer conundrum.
Totally agree. Totally agree. And one thing to add to that, like, one thing I said to myself is, I'm not going to have someone tell me that this is what your journey is going to feel like. And a lot of people did. You're going to feel so sick, and your personality is going to change. And I was like, you know what? This is my journey, and I'm going to make it unique to me. And movement was a part of that. I said, I am going to keep moving throughout this. And I really truly believe that it helped me so much, but it also kept my spirits a little bit higher. So I hope that they start telling people to move more, because we do fall into this, belief that you're going to feel so bad you're not going to want to move. Like, who says that has to be your truth? Who says that has to be your story?
And actually, we know that it's safer to move than it is not to move.
Yeah.
So by not telling people that. We've got a question from Tony, Tony's one of our ambassadors. He's undergoing prostate cancer treatment. He's an incredible person. How did Siri know how to do all those mindful things? Were they self-taught? As a cancer patient, it would have helped me to have things like that in my armory at diagnosis. And I think that's so true. But we don't. It's not something we even mention to our patients.
Yeah. Well, Tony, first of all, you're amazing. I send you so much love and healing vibes. My greatest mentor has been Tony Robbins. I don't know if you all know of him, but he is incredible with all things mindset. And I've been following his stuff for 20 years. And also, I've just, like Lucy, had an interest in psychology and mindset and all those things. So I've been someone that has wanted to learn, and mostly wanted to learn through my own experience, and kind of experiment with how certain types of thinking lead to certain results. And Tony, I can give you a start to something to focus on, because my job now, I believe in everything that I learned, is to share this with others, because it does make such an enormous difference. And one of the first things that I learned from Tony was that where focus goes, energy flows. And for all of us, let's all think about, are we usually thinking about what's missing or what we have? Are you usually thinking about what you are afraid of or don't want to have happen? Or are you usually focusing on what you love and what you want to create in your life? Do you typically think about things you have no control over? Or do you focus on things you have all the control over, which is your mindset and your experience of life, the meaning that you give things? When you think about where you usually are, if someone is truly unhappy and struggling and suffering, I can guarantee you they're thinking about what's missing, what they fear, what they don't want to have happen, and what they have no control over. So the simplest shift, and again, this is building this muscle. You've got to build this muscle. It takes time, it takes work. Focus on what you have and what you're grateful for. Focus on what you want and what you love, what you want to create, and focus on what you have all the control over. And if you turn your focus in that direction in every aspect of your life, it will change your entire experience of life. Where focus goes, energy flows. If you focus on how bad you feel, you're going to feel worse. If you focus on the good and the abundance, you're going to feel better, and you're going to be more aware of finding abundance everywhere around you. I hope that helps. It's a start. But if you just start with that, because that's where I started, 25 years ago, it changed my life. It really did.
And Tony, what I would say is that from watching from afar, you're doing a blooming good job of doing exactly what Siri's suggested anyway. So yeah,
Awesome, Tony.
incredible. Siri, do you think your cancer diagnosis has changed you?
I really do. Wow, I'm still working with this one, because it has changed me a lot. It has. I used to always think that I was such a grateful person, and I was, like, I just appreciate the smallest things, but there is a deeper gratitude that I can't even put words to. A and part of that is a gratitude for myself. And my love for myself has strengthened enormously because I really am proud of how I've gotten through this, and I'm proud of who I am, and I'm proud of what I want to do with this whole experience. And I think that that self-love is a piece that's been a long time coming for me. Um, and now that I have it, I truly realize that when we love ourselves, we are so much better able to love the people around us and to make a difference in people's lives. And that self-love has deepened so much. Um, and I also have a feeling in my life, you know, a lot of what I've accomplished in my life has come from a place of force, you know, wanting to prove something. I've got to prove something, so I got to push myself to achieve this. And I'm in a place now where I want everything that I accomplish in my life to come from a place of flow, from a place of passion from my heart, being pulled to do things, not pushed. And I think that that greater love for myself and that greater appreciation for myself makes me want to take care of me better. And I know that I can achieve just as much from a place of flow, from being pulled, than that place of force, which really takes away a lot of the fulfillment. And we all deserve to feel fulfillment from the things that we accomplish in our lives. And that fulfillment comes when you're pulled to do things, not when you're pushed. So I'd say that's one of the biggest changes or realizations, I guess, that has come for me, and just an appreciation for this miracle of life that's just beyond words. Beyond words. Every single moment is a gift. And I will never, ever take that for granted. And I will do everything in my power to do everything right for me, for my body, for my spirit, for my mind, for those I love, those I care about.
Yeah, I mean, I always feel so lucky as an oncologist that I get that reminder, and I like to think I take that forwards into my life. But yeah, I mean,
You
they're
do.
lovely, lovely. I mean, lovely is it's too insignificant a word, but wow. Do you think it will change you as a coach?
I think it's going to, I believe with all my heart, it's going to make me a much more powerful coach.
Mm.
With powerful, not in a power way, but in a like, in a every aspect of their lives kind of way. I've always been a coach that is very focused on mind, body, spirit. It's not just about getting the results. I want to know that my athletes are becoming, you know, not better humans, but just more well-rounded mind, body, spirit. Like that's so important for me. And I believe that I have so much more to give now. Again, because as I mentioned earlier, when you learn to receive, you have so much more to give. So I feel now I have so much more to give because I am capable of receiving from the people around me. And I think that in itself will help me to become a better coach as well.
And when you think about the future, how do you think about your future? Is it going to look different, Siri version 2?
There's going to be a lot more flow, um, so much love, so much appreciation, and just me really, really wanting to touch lives and make a beautiful difference in this world in any way that I can. Um, but embracing every single moment of life, and never giving anything less than my very best. There's a quote by Prefontaine, and I'm sure you've heard it. To give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift. And
I haven't heard that.
life, oh, it's just, I love that quote because life is such a gift. And so live it with everything you have inside of you and bring all of yourself. I always say live fearlessly, authentically you. And that means just bringing all of who you are into this life of yours. And that's what it is to celebrate the gift.
Siri, it has been amazing having, I mean, you've given an hour of your time to us. We are so honoured, and I think sharing your story has been so powerful, probably more so to people who don't know what it's like to have cancer. And you know, our community, the positivity and the mindset and the mental strategies that you use, that's so powerful. But I know that anyone who's been following your Instagram feed over the last year will have learned a huge amount about what it's like to go through cancer, which is something that a lot of people don't experience until later in life. You know, you talk about giving, but you're just such a giver. We are so grateful. Thank you so much. And yeah, we will record this and send you the links. And thank you. Yeah.
Well, Lucy, thank you so very much for all you do, for everyone around you, and to all of you on here. Believe in you. You are more powerful than you could ever imagine. And if you are on this journey, make it your journey and go in just knowing that you will triumph, because I really believe that you will. Lucy, thank you for giving me this opportunity. It's the ultimate joy. Thank you.
Well, we're gonna put some links on our social media to some other for any triathletes listening. There's some super interesting triathlon podcasts that Siri's been on that, you know, talk about your amazing journey from someone who can't. I'm not sure I believe it. I don't believe it all, but and also your book, which people might well be interested in reading. I've read it. It's a very good read. So Surfacing by Siri Lindley. So we'll put those links on. You just stay on the line, Siri, for 2 minutes. I'm just going to end the Facebook live. So goodbye, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Lots of love to